future mystery. This moment is the gift.
Welcome, Miracle Makers. I'm so glad that you're here. It's Dr. Sarah Larsen in the house for you, Miracle Makers. And I'm with someone that I just adore so much. She has spent a lot of time on Hollywood sets, a lot of time dressing people and really addressing characters. With me today to talk about living authentically and really a life filled with meaning, with an open heart, even after you've had trauma. In studio with me is Mary Beth Ramses. Woohoo! Oh, I'm so glad that you're here. Oh, you're so welcome. I love to set an intention for this. And this we set the intention and we call it a little prayer. So Miracle Makers, if you're able to, just put your hand on your heart. And we're so grateful that you're able to join us and for us to be able to release all trauma. Oh my gosh, with the words, with the energy, with the voices, with the stories, with every caller, here with Mary Beth and Tony, who is the soundboard with us, with you all, to really, truly open a path that all trauma can be released. And so it is.
So it is.
Yes. Oh, Mary Beth, having you in studio is such a treat. I'd love for you to just share a little bit of your background, because you spend a lot of time on Hollywood sets.
Yes. So I moved to Hollywood about 22 years ago, and I got a job in a workroom making costumes and altering costumes for whatever show came through, whatever actress came through. And I did that for about 6 months. And then I got a job on a movie. And that just went, started me out from there.
When I look at your IMDb page, you're like Spider-Man 3, every big movie that's been out there in the last 20 years or TV show, you've helped dress those stars and dress those people. So it's so incredible to it's in Hollywood, we demonstrate a lot of trauma, a lot of stories that from start to finish start with, oh my gosh, whether it was ancestral, whether it was just in that lifetime or multi-individual trauma. And so dressing people and witnessing that and seeing the actors, it's really, really interesting to me. How do you demonstrate that with clothing a little bit?
Okay, so what we do is, we read the script, we break it down, but say the main character is depressed at the beginning of the movie and goes through a transformation and becomes happier at the end. We show that through the clothes. So an easy example would be at the beginning of the movie, maybe the actor is wearing baggy clothes, dark colors, just not necessarily looking like a slob, but just not put together. And then as the transformation happens throughout the movie, their clothing slowly changes. And so you can see them become more happy or more letting go of the trauma through the clothing.
So letting go of the trauma and clothing becomes a huge part of it. And so it's such a huge part for someone to come in and be able to say, wow, this is what clothing for trauma looks like.
Yes.
Yeah. And so to be able to play those parts is huge. But meaning the part of dressing someone, for each individual that's going through trauma in their life, I'd love for you to share. I know that you just recently did a telesummit about divorce, about different traumas that you've experienced or that you've helped your clients with.
Yes.
And so I'd love for you to talk about maybe the recent one about the life after divorce and the trauma that was for you.
Yeah. So a lot of people who go through divorce, it's so traumatic, and the clothing plays a big part in that. Where, like when I was married, I was a different person. I had 4 stepchildren and a husband at home, so I had to dress. I felt that I had to dress more conservative around them. And then going through the divorce, I didn't know who I was anymore because I was somebody else. And so then I went through a transformation a little bit, and now I'm going through another one. So, and I recently just had a client who, when she was going through her divorce, she felt that she needed to have more power in court. And when she talked to her ex, and by doing that, she used clothing, this brand that was very, can I cuss? Made her feel like a badass.
Yes.
So it was her terms. And so she wore like studded clothing and very, very much like just made her feel powerful in court. Now, when she's past that, now she wears more flowy, girly, feminine clothes because she's through that.
It's so
trauma.
Beautiful to just talk about that, where you can create what you are in the current moment through clothing.
Yes.
And so taking this back just a few steps, it's so easy for us to say that, in clothing wise, it's so easy for us to say, this is how you want to represent yourself outside in the world. But it takes a huge process to go from really, really shut down, having all of this trauma, to actively start dressing and actively start acting and bringing forward what you naturally want to bring forward.
Right.
So it's such a gift. It's such a gift to have so many tools for us to be able to create healing for ourselves. How do you define trauma for yourself?
Trauma could anything that's sets you back.
Anything that sets you back.
Pushes you off your game or your normal equilibrium.
Your normal equilibrium. A traumatic divorce, a traumatic upbringing in childhood. There's this term called adverse childhood experiences. When we've had a lot of adverse childhood experiences, little things become so important. The perfectionism, the eating, all of these disorders can come into place. And in our body, in our mind, and in our spirit, we are auto self-correcting. Nature is self-correcting. One of the tools that you can use first is to really start addressing maybe what it is in the way that you represent your body. Maybe it's the way that you show up in spirit. Maybe it's the way that you're talking to yourself in your mind. And trauma, to really, really get clear, there is probably not a single person on this planet that hasn't experienced trauma. And right now, if you turn on television, you can have a traumatic experience just watching the news. And it's so important for us to be able, you, Miracle Maker, to be able to have tools for you so that when you feel there's a little bit of a setback in your life, a little bit of trauma, you can actively get out the door to keep agreements, keep moving forward. I know for myself, I have an emergency set of clothing. If I can't make a decision, I've got one set of clothing, a few different colors in my office that is set aside for those times that I feel set back so that I can just go in, grab those clothes, and show up for whatever it is that I'm required to be part of. And sort of like your client being a badass in court, it's so beautiful for you to start with the end in mind. To start with, all right, one day this trauma will be over. The ancestral trauma, the emotional trauma, all of that trauma. And how do you show up in the world when you have fully come back to life?
Right.
Right.
Yes. And it is like dressing for the future you.
Yes.
And what you want is like fake it till you make it.
Yes.
So who do you want to be, and who do you want the world to see you as?
Yes.
And then that outer changes the inner, and the inner also changes at the same time.
The outer changes the inner, and the inner changes at the same time. It's so profound. There are great quotes like, so is above, so is below. The way that you represent yourself on the outside is really an indicator of what's going on the inside. And so it seems to be trivial for some people when they've had a lot of trauma. But until you try it, and it's that statement of like, you don't know what chocolate is until you bite into chocolate. You don't know the power of transforming your physical experience until you've actually done it. Tell us some stories around this with some of your clients or some of the transformations that you've seen?
Okay, so there's big transformations in cancer patients where they're one person before they get the diagnosis. And then they get the diagnosis, and then they go through a whole, like, who am I now? You know, how long is this going to last? And I'm going to treat myself to the best or the happiest, and they become more playful in their clothes. And maybe they try different wigs, different colors, or different hats. And it just is a big transformation, and you see they seem happier in a way. And so playing with clothes is fun for that too.
That's so beautiful, to play with clothes. And again, let's define trauma, define cancer can be traumatic. Mm-hmm. Losing a child, having physical harm done to your body, having emotional and feelings of being attacked or physically really being attacked. And what is it that winds up counteracting that trauma? For you, this is something, if you look at nuns wear a habit, nuns wear clothing, doctors wear the same kind of uniform, the scrubs with lab coat, which I love. It's so easy to know exactly what to wear. It's like you've got your scrubs and your lab coat, but it's that habit. And when you've been in trauma or pushed down, you've got a habit of not necessarily putting on the best on or around you. And one of the ways that you get to recreate yourself is to recreate your habits and what you begin to focus on. And one of the things, you, miracle makers, will have you for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Well, tell me about some of the ways that after your traumatic divorce that you went back into developing yourself.
Well, I got a lot of coaches, a lot of coaching, and really went in deep inside of me and realized I didn't know who I was anymore. And so I really did some research and some deep thought, and I'm still doing it. And it's just ongoing growth.
Yes.
Ongoing growth. of just meditation and who am I and what do I like, and understanding the childhood traumas that I've gone through and my ex went through and everyone else has gone through. And then you can see people clearer and more understanding.
When you see people clearer and are more understanding. And this, we live a part fantasy world. Mm-hmm. A part of us lives in this fantasy world that we can exist in a world without trauma. But by our very nature, we're designed to be challenged. We're designed to have things that are experienced in ways, experienced as things setting us back. And making a decision to be with someone for the rest of your life, and then waking up one day and realizing, wow, that's no longer a possibility. Where do I go from here? Who am I now? And much of the trauma that you, miracle makers, might have experienced, much of that trauma is asking you, who are you? If you define yourself by the trauma, then if you define yourself by those experiences, you've got only two ways in which to look at it. Either you are the trauma, or the survivor of this trauma, or you are someone that has fully come alive and experienced an aspect of life or a wounding that gives you something that no one else has.
That's beautiful. Yes, I was just thinking in the last 6 months or so that, when you have to check off the boxes of, are you married or single or divorced? I never want to say that I'm divorced because I don't feel that defines me.
Yes.
Like you were saying, it's like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened.
Yes.
But I'm not there anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's so beautiful and so important. And so we need to have a little reset, none of the above.
Yes.
None of the
yes.
above. We are all going to experience on this planet. And one thing that I love about being an energy doctor, and I know Mary Beth, you coach with me yes. as well. I'm so privileged to be able to really share this. When your energy comes back alive fully, what becomes available for you, what becomes possible for you is a healing for every other person that's gone through that same experience. And so the first step is really being willing to accept what has happened to you or to another, just the way it's happened. And it takes you out of the fantasy that it could have been any different. What would you add to that?
Yeah, I'm glad I went through my experiences. It's made me who I am today, and it's made me stronger.
It's the stronger, even the ability to give back, yes. which is what you've developed.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The gift that's come out of this is so beautiful. Mm-hmm. Feeling that one day you might be glad might be a little bit extreme for some people. But again, this is like tasting chocolate. You don't know what it's going to be like until you go there. And to fully accept whatever has happened to you from start to finish, exactly the way it happened, and giving that pain, giving that trauma, giving that adverse experience a label or a title, right? Mm-hmm. The opposite of a badass. Your client that went to court she felt like a...
Before that?
Before that.
She probably felt weak.
Weak.
So she needed to put on, say, a costume.
A costume.
A protection.
Yes.
To protect her heart, maybe, and herself, her child.
Yes.
Through all of the proceedings.
Through all of the proceedings, the clothing there. And so defining what it was, labeling it, naming exactly what happened for you is so important. And so for me, I label my childhood with eating disorders. I label my childhood with ancestral release of child abuse or physical abuse. It's happened ancestrally. Labeling everything trauma from marriage, childhood marriage, all the way to near-death experiences. And labeling it, accepting it exactly as it happened, and then really formulating what is it what's the superpower or the gift for this woman to be a badass in court, for the cancer survivor to fully come alive and expressive and playful. For you, miracle maker, what is that? What is it that makes you come alive? And everything that we're going to experience in this life is energy. And when you fully understand energy is never created nor destroyed, it just gets more organized. And nature is always self-correcting. So that first step of accepting it, the second step of labeling it, really label it so it's encapsulated in these words and you've got power over it. Then third, to create the persona or the physical thing that overcomes it, the personality, the superhero, and really looking for and drawing the bridge between the two. What is the bridge between the weakling and the badass? What's the bridge between the eating disorder and the healthy mama for me? What's the bridge between the physical abuse to really mindful parenting? What does that look like? What's the costume that you might wear? And that's one of your tools that really, really come in. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, you just said it. What's the costume of who you want to be?
Yes.
It's really where it is. It's like, who do you want to be next or right now, tomorrow, today? And put that costume on, whether it's a superhero cape or a badass outfit or a sweat top, whatever gives you power and is authentically you, which I think is very important too, being authentic to yourself, but maybe pushing it a bit so that you're pushed to the excellent you.
Yes, push to the excellent you. You can do it, you. For my daughter, my labeling early on for her was, I am a strong, independent, I can do it woman. And when I became a mama, and I'd already been a doctor, already traveled the world, worked with non-government organizations, but then I got sent home with this little baby that I was completely responsible for. And I was 100% sure that it would be like I would be back up on my feet within a matter of, days, if not hours. And the whole experience of it was, wow, who am I now? And it became, who do I want her to be? And I'm like, I want her to be a strong, independent, I can do it woman. And so I'm like, that's who I've got to be, a strong, independent, I can do it woman here at home with my babies, with my kid, with my darling. I think, Mary Beth, you have something fantastic coming up as well.
Yes, I'm doing an online show, and it starts airing January 7th.
Yes.
And it's called Transformational Styles. And it's
Transformational Styles.
Yes. So it talks about, I interview other stylists and photographers and people who work with people and have seen transformations through clothing.
Transformation through clothing. Mm-hmm. And so this season, I really invite you, dear miracle makers, to tune in and check this out, as well as to tune into your clothing and see if you bring your focus and attention away from the wound and on to how you show up in the world. and see what can happen for you when your attention is no longer on what caused pain, what caused harm, but rather in developing who you are to be next. And so, thank you. I'm so glad. We're going to take some callers. I know Tony is here with us. We've got a few callers, a lot of callers, actually. So glad. We can go ahead and take the first caller. Mary Beth, I'm so glad that you're here.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
And welcome, Miracle Makers. It's Dr. Sarah Larsen. How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yay.
Wow.
Who are we speaking with?
This is Tony, actually. Similar name.
Hi, Tony. So glad that you're here. What can we answer for you?
Well, I guess my question is, listening, it's really easy for people to talk about healing from trauma when they have, right?
Yes.
If you've been to the other side of it, it's easy to look back and say, oh, well, I did this or I did this. And there's some missing piece for me of I've been stuck in the trauma of my divorce for 8 years, a long time. It was a really traumatic divorce. And, my identity in some ways internally has always been the same. I definitely had an identity as a wife and a mom, but in terms of how I dress, how I present myself into the world, I feel like that's pretty aligned with who I am. But I still feel stuck in the events of the divorce and what it meant to me as a woman to be left for another woman, blah, blah, blah. So I just wanted to ask about, what do you do when you're actually stuck? That you aren't to the other side. You can't find not just who you are, but how to even be in a world that allows for so much trauma. That's my question. It's long.
It's a great question. I'd love for you to answer first because I know you came out of traumatic.
Yeah, I just was remembering where I was when you were speaking at the beginning. My ex was unfaithful too. And I don't know if that's true for you, but it was hard. It was really hard, and I remember crying every night, and and getting through it. And I knew one day I'd be okay. But when you're there in it, it's really hard. And I do remember getting rid of clothes that reminded me of him, and not necessarily of him, but I remember the picture. I remember wearing this shirt when we were sitting on the park bench watching the kids play. So that shirt goes. Getting rid eliminating the memories
triggers
that's within your closet.
Yeah.
Are you divorced yet?
I said I've been divorced for 8 years, and it was an infidelity with a friend. He left me for one of my friends. And I have, around clothes and art and my furniture, everything is different to some degree. My style is my style, so it's a different version of the way it was, probably both in my clothes and my art and the way the house looks. I replaced it, but it's still art, you know what I'm saying? And I replaced clothes, but I kind of have a look that I've pretty much had with me my whole life. Maybe that's an issue. I was thinking about that. I kind of dress like a teenager. But I guess I'm just confused.
Tony, and I'm going to add to this. I'm going to add to this so much because you've got within your core, within your belly, in this, the reason that this is still stuck is because it was such a huge right decision for you at the time to get married. And you haven't really trusted a lot of your big decisions since then within relating. And so it's hard to solve the problem from the level of thinking that created it. I'm going to say it another way, which is this is one of Mary Beth said within her, she got coaching. And she figured out the inside so strongly that it made a difference for everything on the outside. And you're beautiful, and I can feel your energy, and I can feel that you've been pursued at times, but you haven't let yourself fully trust another relationship yet.
Yeah, my next boyfriend died.
Yeah.
Crazy. A lot of trauma.
A lot of trauma. And so that's showing up. And there's stuff about you love play, and you wanted the relationship and the roles to just continue to play your whole life. And so literally your physical energy is stuck in a particular location in time, and you haven't been able to draw it back to yourself physically. And I really recommend, I love the work that I do. I think it's amazing. Miracle Makers Academy is amazing for coming in and doing the work, but literally, but it would just take one session, one full day kind of experience for you to reclaim and come back alive, and for you to fully get your whole life purpose in order as well. This has caused you to not necessarily play as strongly as you want to in the rest of your life as well. So you mute yourself in a lot of areas to not shine.
That sounds true.
So the first thing is, if you want to do this completely on your own, start writing letters that you never mail about to your ex. Start writing letters to the woman and women that he's been with since. And really, really address and put into words all the things that you're feeling. Again, you don't ever mail these. And then you sit quietly and you wait for the answers to come from within your soul as to why this happened for you.
And so I can deal with being alone. I hate being alone.
Yeah.
The worst thing ever.
I'm so sorry. And it's you. I feel it in your field that you've got someone that's like, you've got so much love for source and play within you that anytime you go towards play and laughter and source and sort of the movement art stuff that you do, you draw a lot of people in, and you're not alone. But in this area, because you can't quite get anyone else to wrap and feel what you felt, you've been carrying a lot of what you're feeling all by yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anything you want to add?
And what is the... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, sweetheart.
I didn't remember the name. I just saw the email today and called, but I don't remember the name of it's called Miracle Workers.
Miracle Makers Academy. Within Miracle Makers. And we've got, Marianne, you've been part of this. I've called you Mary Ann instead of Mary Beth.
It's okay.
It's so funny. Mary Beth Ramsey's in the house. Mary Beth, you've been part of Miracle Makers for how long?
Oh, 6-8 months.
6 to 8 months. Yeah. And what's the experience like within
the community is amazing. It really is. I mean, there's a couple calls a week. I'm not sure which ones are.
There's
a couple different programs. So one a week.
One a week.
One a week. And it really is amazing. The transformations, the group call is, there's something about a group call where if I don't think anything is happening within me that I need help with, I'm still there. And then somebody else, say, calls in or pipes up and says their issue. And it's the same thing I have, but I haven't realized it. It's deeper down. I'm like, oh, wow. And so I get healed through that too. And often 3 or 4 out of, 10 or 15 people on the call, most of them have something that I'm dealing with that I don't realize until somebody brings it up.
And so, Tony, what winds up happening is you get understood at your core within a group setting, and you release it within a group setting. So miraclemakersacademy.com.
All right.
All right.
I will look in that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And also, Tony, do the writing, the journaling. I did that, only about 6 months or so ago, and it was amazing.
Mary Beth spent a day with me, actually. She came in and spent a day with me, and we wound up going through these energy processes and releasing. That was one of those things. So to really sit down and write this out is amazing.
Yeah, and you'll be.
I can do that.
You'll be surprised. You might be surprised at what comes out. I mean, the thank you for doing that, because it's done this for me. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Love you, Tony. Thank you for calling. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Welcome, caller. It's Dr. Sarah Larsen. Mary Beth, you're amazing. I so love having you in studio. You're so soft as well, which is what I mean by that is you nurturing, and you really give such depth from that.
Thank you.
Welcome, caller. It's Dr. Sarah Larsen. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Who are we speaking with?
Hi, this is Lori.
Hi, Lori.
And I'm really enjoying the two of you. And when I first met Mary Beth on Miracle Makers, I was very, very excited, I guess I would say, because I kept telling myself, and always do whenever I see you, Mary Beth, on Miracle Makers, that the opportunity to talk to you sometime would be quite the adventure for me. I'm 64 in December, and I've never been comfortable in anything other than jeans and a T-shirt. I've never gone out of I shouldn't say never, but for the most part, generally speaking, I don't like calling attention to myself through clothes, and I've always wanted to embrace my feminine side and make the most of my appearance, but I've always kind of rebelled against a culture that felt to me was too materialistic and too much obsessed with looks and the material side of things. And anyway, I was raped a handful of times, and I think I never really wanted to call attention to my body. But at the same time, I would love to learn how to transform who I am through a transformation of how I represent myself through clothes. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm glad you're out there doing what you do, and I love hearing about your work.
Oh, thanks, Lori. I knew your voice right when you start talking. I'm like, that's Lori. I know her. I would say, are you a Cancer?
I'm a Sagittarius.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you said that in December.
I've always been single, so I always used to say through the years that if and when I have a guy in my life, I'll care about, how I look physically. But that's not really been my experience, and I need to care just for me,
Yes. Yes, you need to care for yourself so then you can attract a man who cares for you as well. But I would say just you can still wear jeans and T-shirts, but nicer, newer, put them together differently, an updated version of your jeans and T-shirts.
And I love for you to go maybe to a store that you wouldn't normally go to and try on a bunch of different things and see how you feel in them. A department store that you might not normally go to, and pick out a few of the department stores have shoppers for you as well that can help you line things up. And I would say it's like trying on a new character. who are you going to be? Starting from like trying on the clothing and seeing who you're going to be. And clothes 10 years ago were so much less comfortable than they are now. Jeans and sort of even the most stuffiest looking things are now made to be very, very comfortable and warm. And so I would love for you to just spend a day in the mall, in this space, kind of like a teenager again, coming back to life with yourself, going and being gentle with yourself throughout the day as well, just to see what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy in the clothing realm.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
That's a great idea.
I had a client I took shopping a couple of weeks ago, and she always wears jeans, always wears jeans. And I ended up putting her in a whole bunch of dresses, and she loved it. And she said that it really brought out her feminine side. So she ended up buying a
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it, because I do love looking at skirts and, But anyway, well, thank you both very much. I'll let you get on to more callers.
I'll see you Sunday.
It's a great show. Thank you very much. Much love.
Tuesday.
We'll see you Tuesday, Lori. Thank you so much. And I do have different programs, which is why Mary Beth's part of multiple programs in there. So I'm so glad. The main key program is called Miracle Makers. And every week we have about 15 to 20 minutes worth of conversation and talking and a lesson for the week based on astronomy, based on astrology, based on what's happening to the human collective. And that's why everyone seems like, oh, that topic had to be just for me, because it's what's happening on the planet collectively. And for some degree, we're all dealing with it that week. So let's go ahead and take the next caller. Welcome, caller. It's Dr. Sarah Larsen and Mary Beth Ramsey in the house. Hi.
Hello.
Who are we speaking with?
This is Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
And I'm new at Miracle Makers. I'm having a problem with I'm just procrastination about moving forward in my life, and I don't know if that's due to some early trauma, or why can I not get past the procrastination?
So, my darling, I feel like you've got something going on with right eye. So, about giving. So, being able to give with your vision. It's so funny to say it this way, but the energy that I feel is it's about giving to yourself. You have a hard time giving to yourself.
Okay.
And I'd love for you to keep going.
I've got problems.
But I'd love for you to keep
problems
going.
With my right knee.
Your right knee is,
yeah.
And then an irritation that's happening kind of all over. You like where you are a little bit, but it's not irritating enough for you to move forward. Is that correct?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I cut you off, Cheryl. I'd love for you to share just a little bit more of what was going on with you, but I felt your right eye, your right knee, the right side of your body very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you want to share, please go ahead and share again.
Yeah, no, that's okay. My right knee is just swollen, and it seems like I think on the days I'm procrastinating that's worse. It just swells with fluid, but there was nothing ever wrong with that knee. It just started happening with I think we're trying to move from one state to another, and trying to release all our possessions here to move.
Yes.
And that's the hard part, is letting go, because I feel like I'm losing something, or I won't have the financial replacement or something. And I don't know what blockage or fear I have.
So this is about really being able to give to yourself. And it sounds so funny to say it this way, But all of the stuff that you get rid of in a lump sum almost is like giving yourself a whole new life. You've accumulated so much. Is that true? Here, it's even hard to move any of it.
Right.
And
right,
if you really had really just went through and put together maybe 4 or 5 boxes and said, this is the only stuff I'm going to take. This is how much stuff we can take, these many boxes. And you went through your stuff and you said, only the stuff that fits in these boxes is what I can take. Everything else will be left here. And you call either Salvation Army or Got Junk or one of those organizations, the cancer, the thrift store, council societies, and they come and take everything else. So you're going on a treasure hunt in your space to find the stuff that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else, you are like literally giving yourself the gift of it's been overwhelming because there's so much. It's hard to even see all the stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So digging through it as if you no longer existed and someone else was going through it. And it would only be the stuff that would be useful for you, the new you that you're stepping into in this new state.
Okay. Yes. I will try doing it that way.
Yeah. If you do, and really start with the end in mind for yourself, you're going to have and you have created a whole new life before. And this is something Mary Beth is really great at doing as well. She literally has done so much. And energy, I'd love for you to share what's happened for you in this world.
I recently moved about a month ago, and it was really interesting. Before I moved, I started purging some stuff. I started going through old file boxes and clothes and getting rid of things that I didn't feel I needed anymore. And things were replaced. When I moved, I was given furniture. So
this is a miracle maker story. This is
really amazing.
Right. This is one of those miracle making stories. And I'm going to take over and then I'll have Mary Beth share. But Mary Beth has always wanted to live in this neighborhood for over 20 years. And one day just goes out and finds, driving around, finds the exact building, the exact place, makes an offer, gets... I'd love for you to really, in the miracle maker's way, to share the miracle that this was.
It was a miracle in all ways. Like you said, the price of the unit had dropped. He dropped the price a month or a week before, which brought it into my price range. And, or else I wouldn't have seen it. And it's in the area that I always wanted to be in. And I didn't have a dining room table. I didn't own one because my apartment before was so small. I just had a little cafe table. And so when I moved in, or when I was looking at the place, I thought, well, I just won't have one yet. I'll get one when I get around to it. I'll settle in first. And the second time I looked at the unit, or maybe the first time, he said, "Do you want any of the furniture?"
And it's amazing because we did the work. We did the energy work of lifting the frequency to expect life to share more. Yes. Get rid of the stuff. And we set it up. Get rid of anything that doesn't bring you absolute joy. Right. Don't even hesitate. If in doubt, throw it out. And doing the energy work, the exact location that you wanted to live in showed up, the exact furniture, better than you would have bought for yourself. And she created a man giving her furniture.
Right.
Yeah,
if you want to
I
go
need that
deep
with my
into-
business.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And so in this, really, really releasing it with joy and only taking the stuff like really you're starting out brand new in a brand new location. Only that which you can take and would make sense 100 years from now for you. Everything else leaving behind. And calling him and getting it done in one lump sum. There's a saying that we can only make, and there's some science behind this, that we can only make so many decisions a day, that our mind can only make so many. So if we've got 3 million things in decisions to choose to go or stay, if you're looking at it quickly and going, I only have to choose this quantity to travel with me. Once it's done, you will be able to let go of all the other stuff. We can only make so many decisions a day. And that's why the feeling of procrastination or being overwhelmed by it comes up. If you've got the end, this many boxes we can take, and you start going through and you find your favorite stuff that fits in those boxes, let the rest go. Yay, Shirley. So glad that you're here and so excited for your new life.
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Caller, we can take the next caller, Tony. Welcome. It's Dr. Sarah Larsen and Mary Beth. Hi. You have to turn us down on whatever you're listening to on the other thing. Hi.
I'm excited for your new life. Here. Thank you.
Turn down the other. Turn down what you're listening to us on. Hi, 310. You're on with us. Welcome. Can you hear us?
Is this me?
It is you. I'm so glad that you're here.
Hello. Okay. Hello, Dr. Sarah, Mary Beth. My name's Joan, and I unfortunately missed the beginning of the show, but I see your lips moving, Dr. Sarah, but I'm not sure what you're saying because I don't know how to listen to both.
We're smiling because we recognize you, Joan. Both of us are smiling because we know exactly you're a miracle maker, and we're so glad you're here.
I am so blessed, and I missed the beginning, but Mary Beth, I need the help with clothing. Everything you've touched here is so close to my heart. I wear workout clothes, even though I'm not working out, and I don't get dressed. And getting dressed is stressful. That's one. And two, the furniture. I worked with Dr. Sarah once, and I don't know how to do this. Should I hang up my phone and do it on Facebook?
No, stay on your phone. Turn the other thing off. Okay. Stay on your phone.
Okay. So I saw Dr. Sarah in person once, and the same thing with the furniture. There was a woman who just literally I've never met said she's moving, and would I like to look at her furniture? And I don't have a lamp. I needed a lamp. I don't have, you see straight into the building across from me.
So there's that little furniture in your place.
I'm so believing of the work. Everything transformational of both of you. And Mary Beth, I love your energy. I love your warmth. I feel that purity and passion and purpose all coming together, and it's just such a blessing.
Thank you.
So my quick question is finance. I know that I'm capable, and I somehow am blocking or have blocked financial stability, comfort, and down to the wire. Is there something that I can do here? I'm not doing what I love, but I'm doing what I have to do.
It's so beautiful, Joan. What's coming through really strongly, and I know fashion will make a difference for all of these meetings that you go to as well. To really, really, and Mary Beth, you might address that. But financially, right now is the most amazing time for entrepreneurs as well as any small businesses, because there's such a search right now for what I would call, and I mean this in the most complimentary way, someone who's scrappy and can scrap together and do so many different things, bring together so many different areas. And Joan, that's what you're really, really great at. And one of the things is not having announced yourself in what you want to do next. Did that make sense? So you're stuck in the old pattern of doing what you were doing before, but you haven't announced and shared with people what you want to be doing now. And that's why the finances haven't matched what came in before.
So I had, thank you very much. I think that announcing I've been talking about it in terms of who am I and am I Miss Chocolate anymore? And also just the one thing that I've been doing for a long time, they're not with good people, and they're haters is a strong word, but extremely, I hate the word jealous too for hate. But it's just, I write for a magazine and I'm their trends editor, and everything has changed. Exactly what you just said. I write about accelerators and innovators and they'll change it all. And I'm ready to drop out, but it's been my access into that particular world. So announcing myself, there seems to be a split between the business self and the creative self. And I've always put those two together under a specialty. And I'm ready to, my creative self is where all the strength and power is.
And so as you're writing and as you're relabeling yourself is really, really important at the bottom with the writing as an editor, but also writing in there as possibly a resource, and coming up with a label that really encompasses the resource that you are at the bottom. Did that make sense? Just that one relabeling will help you be able to start setting the trend differently with how people relate to you. And clothing, I know.
Yes, I would suggest dressing for the job that you want and the respect that you want. Even if you're just writing at home, get dressed.
Oh, yeah, no, I have beautiful, I do, I hear you. And you're probably right, I should. In the writing, I'm supposed to be at a conference right now. And I'm sitting there going, wow, they're mostly health. I can't really wear leather. So I'm very conscious of what to wear or be, and I'm ready. If you sell anything, I'm ready to release all those things. I have an entire closet that I've gone through and taken pictures of that need to be sold, and I don't know how to do those things.
Good.
And yes, Dr. Sarah, you're right about quote unquote hiding or not announcing. I don't do any social media. I don't do anything in technology. I do no LinkedIn, Facebook, none of that. Right now, it's a little bit too much for me, but I hear you. And yes.
Beautiful.
I just have to decide if I'm chocolate or not chocolate.
I would label you as the CEO of a think tank kind of experience. You're a think tank all by yourself. And then Mary Beth is great at coming in and really helping you know what the market is looking for. If you'll talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah. What area are you in? Are you in California?
I am. Oh, yes. I'm right by Century City,
Okay,
Rancho
yeah.
Park, Century
So-
City, West Side.
Yeah, so there's stores in LA that you can take your clothes to, resale stores, and you can get cash or trade. And I like to do that because, you get money right for your clothes. And then what I don't sell, I take to the women's shelter.
These are really like the old me, like Armani's and Prada's. I mean, heavy duty, expensive stuff. The real, but they don't give you very much.
Right. Yeah, and you won't get that much money for them, but you'll get something. And they do like
Okay.
the name brands, and really that you won't. I mean, you just need to know that you're not going to get what you pay.
Do you think
for
that's
them.
better versus Trade Z or something?
Well, it depends on how much time you have, and
None.
and put into it. Like you can put at the
Thank
stores,
you.
you can drop it off and then go the next day and pick up your money. You don't have to wait
Beautiful.
in line to sell
Thank
it.
you.
So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Joan, so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary Beth. What an amazing show this was.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
It was fun.
it went by quickly.
Yes.
It goes by so quick. Tony, thank you so much. Newbie and yay. Miracle Makers, we love you. As always, we'll keep the conversation going on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Miracle Makers Academy. We'll see you there. Thank you so much. Woohoo!
The past is history, the future mystery. This moment is